Let me, Madam Speaker, may I have the time remaining?
The gentlewoman has 5 minutes.
Well, let me thank the gentlelady for her generosity.
All of it.
Yeah, and let me, first of all, thank her for leading the Congressional Progressive Caucus. I understand she is due a recognition of which I celebrate that she will have shortly, but let me thank her for her astuteness about state government. You come from state government. You understand oversight, you understand the responsibilities, and you are the right person to lead this particular special order. Madam Speaker, it is important today to say that I fully support the proposed supportive services that have been accounted or recounted by Congressman Kildee, Congresswoman Lawrence, and Congressman Scott, who is a ranking member of the Education Committee. We must embrace and surround those children. I must say it again. I said it earlier, that for those of us who remember Jim Jones, who left California and gave a poisonous concoction to children in a foreign country, we have a Jim Jones in Michigan giving a poisonous concoction to the children of Flint, Michigan. So we are obviously upset about this, and we want the services to be provided for children who are innocent. But at the same time, wearing a hat that deals with the law and order, I must make the argument that there has to be an investigation, a criminal investigation. Let me applaud the Department of Justice, because I sent a letter January 14th, 2016, to ask the Department of Justice to immediately investigate the actions of state officials in Michigan. They are actively engaged. The FBI is actively engaged, and their work is not for naught. Let me give you an example, Madam Speaker, very quickly. The governor was asked to release his emails. Part of what he released was this black redacted pages of information. He released some other materials that I think are telling. Here we are. We need Treasury to work with Dan and Flint on a clear side-by-side comparison of the health benefits and cost of GLWA versus a more optimized Flint system. But here's the real key. Also, we need to look at what financing mechanisms are available to Flint to pay for any higher cost. Madam Speaker, the governor of the state of Michigan is sitting on $1 billion, but yet he's asking a city that is near bankruptcy, controlled by emergency manager under a state law that was rejected by the people of Michigan, to find out how they can pay for better water. They have no money to pay for better water. But let me tell you what they did. Instead of helping Flint pay for better water, of helping them have a plan for anti-corrosion, they paid an emergency manager under a law that was rejected by the voters of Michigan, and this individual led the Detroit's public schools as an emergency manager. I am told that that was literally brought to collapse. He was paid $180,000. Well, he didn't do that well enough that they wanted to give him $221,000. And let me say this, the emergency manager payment for the city of Flint, let me correct that, was $180,000. When he did it for Detroit public schools that came to near collapse, it was $221,000. From my perspective, there is much here that warrants a criminal investigation. Let me add to the point. On April 25th, 2014, the city switches its water supply. Let me be very clear. The city leaders, I served on city council, they had no authority because the emergency manager was in place. Did the emergency manager have an anti-corrosion plan? No. Did they test the water when they opted to go cheap and save $5 million and go into the Flint River? No. The city switches its water supply from Detroit's system that worked because of money. The switch was made as a cost-saving measure for the struggling majority black city of Flint. Soon after, residents began to complain about the water's color, taste, and odor, and to report rashes and concerns about bacteria. August and September 2014, city officials suggested they boil the water, the complete wrong thing to do. They did not have a plan for anti-corrosion. They did not follow the federal law that indicated that you had to put a phosphate, an anti-corrosive element into the water. And so it continued to deteriorate and deteriorate. Guess what, Madam Speaker, and to my colleagues? The emergency manager was never a scientist. It was not someone who said, let me test the water before I order citizens to drink the water. That sounds to me that there are culpability and criminal culpability because lives have been endangered. And so I'm looking forward to the Attorney General of Michigan coming in just as the governor should, and looking forward to a thorough investigation, Madam Speaker, that will find some relief. My final point, Madam Speaker, is to say that the government
Your time has expired.
The governor is culpable. The governor right now needs to go into his rainy day fund and provide the full funding requested by Mr. Kildee and all others to fix the Flint water system. With that, I yield back.
Under the